Are you tired of spending too much of your hard-earned money at the supermarket? Are you dreaming of farm fresh eggs, homegrown veggies, and homemade everything? Well, welcome to Ditch the Store, where we break free from supermarket dependence and take back control of our food and household essentials. I'm CJ, and I'm here to show you that life is too short for store-bought eggs. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ditch the Store.
Don't mind me.
Got the handy helper here with me today, everybody, and we were just having a bit of a chuckle because I have really, really shitty lighting in the corner that I have my desk set up in. For those that don't know, we're in a tiny house. How many square metres do you reckon it'd be?
God.
78?
Not even that.
Yeah. So we're in a tiny house and there's four of us that live here full time. And so my office takes up, what, you reckon, a metre square?
Metre by metre.
A metre by metre, roughly, which means I have really, really crappy lighting, which is why for those poor bastards that are watching on YouTube, I'm constantly dipping my head so that the one light that I have behind my computer doesn't reflect off my glasses and make it hard for everybody to actually look at the screen.
I took my goggles off so that I couldn't.
We were laughing. He said,
the reflection's huge.
So I don't need my glasses. You're the one reading.
I'm just reading from a distance.
So, everybody, this week is a very big week for me, and I've been a little stressed over the last couple of days. Yeah.
Where's the camera? Hang on. We're starting to measure it.
Handy helpers trying to be nice.
Just a little bit stressed, but you have succeeded.
Yep.
So
I did a webinar this morning for those that weren't on it, and I don't have a huge audience. So for those that listen to me regularly, I appreciate every minute that you give me. But I don't have a huge audience. And I did a webinar this morning on what you need to know before getting backyard chickens or before getting chickens for meat or eggs. And covered off on a lot of things that, as I was going through and doing the research for it to make sure that I had the right information, both the handy helper and I were a bit amazed at some of the things that people think about backyard chickens.
Yeah.
And I guess we're biased.
We are. I love me chooks.
Yeah.
They're good value. I've got my favourites.
Yeah. Considering you were not a chook person to start with.
No, not really, but they grow on you.
You were a dog person, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a dog person. Now I'm a chook person, goat person, horse person, cow person.
Taking a T-bone. Anybody that hasn't seen T-bone, go to either Instagram on the Reels or go to TikTok and see some footage of the most beautiful
little bully calf
you've ever seen. T-bone he's got loads of character, but I look at him and I know some people would be mortified, but when I look at him, all I see is steaks.
He's got a good set of legs on him. I know that.
Good set of legs on him.
Yeah.
And
he's a big boy.
We're a working farm, so we're realistic about the fact that we eat our animals. And I know that mortifies some people, I think. But those people are usually the people that go to Coles and buy the...
I was going to say, don't eat your animals. Go to Coles and buy their meat instead.
Don't you have an ex-wife who maybe...
Yeah.
I get on very well with the handy helper's first ex-wife because he collects them.
Yeah.
And she commented to me because they're on land as well, and she commented to me and said that she won't have animals because she'd rather just go to Coles and buy them there. which horrifies me. I sit back and go, what the fuck? Why would anybody want to go to Coles and buy meat when you can put it in your own backyard?
Why not give the animal the best life it's ever had?
Yeah. And it's the big thing for us is that any animal that is going to be dinner that's destined for freezer camp is going to have the absolute best life it could possibly have on our farm before it goes to freezer camp.
They get spoiled.
Yeah.
They do.
Yep, and live their best life of whatever. And I think there's a book that Joel Salatin put out, The Pigginess of Being a Pig.
Pig or something like that.
Like that. Something he writes about. And it's right. Chickens have certain characteristics in lives, and cows are the same. I mean, T-Bone runs up and down the paddock with his little helicopter tail up, when he's chasing Auntie Millie and trying to annoy her. They have a real, animals have a real set nature. And I think if you have a feedlot animal or an animal that's raised in a barn condition where it doesn't have the opportunity to do the things that are part of its nature, To me, that takes away a bit from raising it. Like, I would rather T-Bone run around up and down the hills chasing Auntie Millie and pissing her off. Mum Molly looks on and laughs, because she really does. I would rather him do that for a year and a half, 2 years before he goes to the butcher, and know that we did everything to give him the best possible life. And I think as a result of that, it might sound a bit woo-woo, and Handy Helper goes off at me sometimes for being a bit too woo-woo, but the meat tastes better.
Yeah, they're calm. They're happy.
Yeah.
They're not stressed.
You remember when we ate the first chook that we dispatched?
Yeah. Tasted totally different. Like better.
Tasted like chicken.
It tasted like chicken.
Instead of that bland crap that you get at the supermarket. Anyway, we've been a little bit divergent there. What we're talking about today, we're in between. So we've just finished off on sourdough. So hopefully you've all got your sourdough starters up and running and you're making lovely loaves of bread. Don't forget to link me in your socials if you make a cracker loaf. Take a photo. Say, look, I did it. I'll be your biggest cheer squad, honestly. And the next couple of weeks, we're going to be discussing cleaning products and homemade cleaning products because, I'm a tight ass and I don't like buying cleaning products if I can make it myself. Now, we've been living off my homemade laundry powder for a couple of months now.
It's good. Works.
The clothes are coming out clean, aren't they?
Yeah, they're cleaner than what they come out when you go and buy the normal laundry powder.
Yeah. Yep.
So, it's worth having a crack at it.
So laundry powder is something that we've been doing. I also make my own soap, and I'm out of soap at the moment, but I've got to make some more. And certainly everybody, because we have a few skin irritation kind of situations in the household, when we use my goat's milk and honey soap, there is no problems with skin.
No, that's good. The stuff works.
And it doesn't I find that some soap, like commercial soap now, it gets too lathery for me, if that makes sense.
Too soapy.
And it's hard to wash off. Whereas the goat's milk soap, you wash with it, you feel clean, it washes off, but your skin doesn't feel really dry afterwards.
That's weird. I'm using the pure soap at the moment. So
we bought Sunlight soap because I use the Sunlight soap to help make the laundry detergent. Yeah. So we bought Sunlight
soap. Then I run out of soap, so I pinched the cake of that. And it's good. It feels good, but
what I did want to say was, so we're in that in between, and the reason that we're doing the episode we're doing today is because as of today, my new course is open for registration, and it's a beta program. This is the first time we've run this. This is a course that is designed to make you a confident chicken keeper, and that's what it's called, Confident Chicken Keeper, and it is eggs and meat birds and everything you need to know from deciding what breed, all the way through health, even the financial side of things, how to track your expenses and your costs and things like that. So if you are at all interested in that, go to www.mojohomestead.net/ and it is, God, I always make them difficult, these ones, CCKC sales.
Okay.
Just Confident Chicken Keeper course sales.
Okay.
But abbreviated. Obviously, I'll put a shank. One of
them.
Yeah. A link in the show notes. Now, what are we talking about this week, Handy Helper?
What have we got there?
You didn't put your glasses on.
No, I didn't. I'm looking from a distance, so this is good. Why I think backyard chickens should be in every suburban backyard.
Oh my God, dare you say it.
I'd have them in the house if I could, you know that.
What? They do. Hang on.
I love them.
Chicken has walked into the house.
Yeah, she's been in this house before. She strolled through the back door and come and checked everything out in the kitchen.
Handy Helper may have been cutting firewood or something inside and left the back door open. And because goat chicken can't live in the yard with the other chickens.
No, she's far more superior than the rest of them.
So she's just recently hatched out 7 babies, and they are fully grown now and completely independent and don't need their mother.
Yep.
And as a consequence, despite the fact that Handy Helper had trimmed both her wings,
she still managed to get out of the coop.
Flying out of the coop and out into the paddock, she flew over the fence.
Yep.
And has reinstalled herself as Luna, the Merrimer dog's best friend.
Yep.
And lives in the goat house of a night. She sleeps, she tucks herself in so that she's safe, and she lives on the back doorstep during the day because that's what goat chicken does.
Some days she might just stop wherever she feels and sleep there for the night.
Yes.
She's like a real loner.
Sometimes we cannot find her, and it gets a bit hair-raising because she is our favourite chook, and if something happened to
Yep.
her, we'd be
I've found
mortified.
her in goat houses and sitting under pot plants, and she's a weirdo.
Pigs in weird places.
Yep, she's a weirdo
Yeah. So why should we have chickens in every backyard?
because they're awesome.
Yeah, there's that. It's really funny
End of
because
discussion.
that's it. We'll just stop now. We're done. It's really funny because in Australia and America and the UK, which is where most of my listeners are from, I do have listeners in other places, the Netherlands. Hi, folks. I think we've got a couple in France because I'm in South Africa. And I'm sure that in other places there's probably some issue with it too. But there's a lot of suburban neighbourhoods where people get really, really worked up about what other
chickens.
people do in their backyards.
It's weird.
Yeah. Now, in Australia, I think in certain areas it's an accepted thing if you have chickens in your backyard. Certainly in rural towns, like where I grew up as a teenager, I can't recall anybody ever buying eggs. I don't even think the local supermarket they'd stock them, but not in great quantities because nobody bought them because everybody knew somebody who had chickens in their backyard if they didn't have them in their backyard themselves.
Yeah.
So
they're so simple.
it is pretty easy.
They're so simple.
But do you remember me telling you there was a country, and I'm trying to think what country it is, but it's one of the Scandinavian countries. So it might have been Norway or Sweden or somewhere like that. And the government were giving out chickens. They were giving out dockets for you to purchase a couple of chickens. So you're allowed to have up to 3 chickens on these dockets where the government was actually funding it to try and encourage people to have backyard chickens because of all the benefits that come with having backyard chickens.
Yep.
Why can't our government do that?
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that idiot. Anyway.
The government at the moment, oh my God. If you're a business person who's trying to run a business, I take my hat off to you because I'm struggling with all the new tax things that are coming in. And so sit tight, folks. Only 2.5 more years and then we might have a change. But some governments are really proactive on it. And obviously this Scandinavian country, and I'll have to look it up. I'll try and put something in the social medias over the week. I'm pretty sure it was Norway. It could have been even the Netherlands. But it was 3 chickens you're allowed to keep in your backyard, and there was a whole bunch of reasons why they gave why you should have them. And certainly, from our perspective, we can understand a lot of those reasons. And I mean, the big one, the huge benefit straight up is up to, if you had I think I worked it out. What did I work it out with my webinar?
3 chooks.
No, 6 chooks would make 1,380 eggs a year. So even if you did 3 chooks, that's still going to be 700 eggs a year, roughly, from 3 chooks. So that's 700 eggs that you don't need to buy. Yes, you've got to feed the chickens. Yes, you've got to care for the chickens. But there's a whole bunch of benefits that come with having chickens as well in a backyard environment that are not just eggs. I mean, eggs are the big one that most people want. They want pasture-raised eggs. They don't want cage eggs. God, can you remember the last time anybody had cage eggs?
If there is any cage egg people around.
Aren't those trays at Costco cage eggs?
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue. Don't know. Don't buy them.
Yeah, we haven't had to.
No.
We don't buy eggs. Surprisingly, we don't buy eggs. But they're the big trays at Costco. I'm pretty sure are cage eggs. Now I don't know where cage eggs come from in Australia anymore because I know a lot of states banned them.
Yeah.
They banned chickens being kept in confined cages. Rightly so. I couldn't think of anything worse than keeping chickens in a confined cage and never letting them go out and walk on grass. But what you have to remember, and we've discussed it before on this podcast, what's the difference between a barn egg and a free-range egg and a pasture-raised egg?
About 1 metre square of grass.
So I love it. The advertising is everything, at the end of the day, advertising is everything. And they advertise that they are free range or barn laid.
Free range.
Yeah.
The big one.
And what does free laid or barn laid or free range mean?
Barn laid ones, they never see the light of day. And they live on dirt floor. Yep. It's just absolutely shit.
Crammed in, and I can't think what the packing ratio is, but it's
about 1 bird per square foot.
Yeah.
which is bugger all.
Yeah.
And they just jam them in. They jam them in.
Not exactly living their best chickeny life, are they?
No, and they don't last long either.
No.
Free range is a good one. We've spoke about it before.
Yep.
The legalities with classing something as free range, all the bird needs is a 1 metre by 1 metre square piece of grass outside a shed or anything outside. Doesn't even have to be grass, can still be dirt too.
And that's not per bird. That's for all the birds.
That's for all the birds. And you can class your chickens as free range just from that. So you can have a barn full of chooks, but as long as you've got the door open and there's a metre by metre square outside that's caged in, you can class them as free range. Go figure.
And I think that's the real big thing for people in a backyard environment, knowing that their chickens are living their best chickeny life and walking around on pasture and grazing and people that say, oh, I can remember somebody arguing once with me about chickens don't eat grass. Chickens absolutely eat grass.
Yeah, they do. They decimate it.
Yeah, they eat. Like, that's why we move our pasture-raised ones once a week. The handy helper's been out in the pouring rain this morning moving them because they...
And funnily enough, they wouldn't come out of the hen houses. I opened the door to let them out and they all just looked at me like, you're kidding me, aren't you?
For anybody that's in New South Wales, we're recording this, what date is it? The 25th of June, and it's pissing down rain. We have had probably 100 mil in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, it's crap.
So we needed it. We needed the rain. But
I think we had about 40 mils in the time that I was moving the chick house. I was drowned. Hence the reason why I look like a dag, because I need to be warm.
So
it's freezing.
Eggs are the big plus. But what else? What else do we get out of our chickens if we're in a backyard environment?
Backyard environment.
Pest control?
Yeah, pest control's a big one. And obviously with the manure and stuff like that, good for veggie gardens. So if you let your chooks roam every now and then through veggie patches, you get rid of all the bugs and stuff like that. We had our chicken coop in Gunning built in the middle of our orchard.
Yep.
So they used to eat all the bugs before the bugs got to the fruit.
And when we first moved there, we had a whole bunch of apple trees. And when we first moved there, the apples had not been collected off the trees for years. Now, anybody that's worked in an orchard environment or had orchards knows that if fruit drops on the ground and rots, it promotes disease and pest.
Yeah.
Because these apples hadn't been picked up in 5 years, the codling moth situation with the apple trees was out of control. When we moved the chicken coop to the orchard, to the base of the orchard.
It wasn't originally, but we moved it into the orchard and fenced the orchard off. So they had free reign in the orchard. It
still took a year for them to get on top of them. But within a year, we noticed that the codling moth problem was disappearing.
Yeah, it was disappearing and the fruit was getting heaps better.
Yep. We had, well, they were fertilising the bottom of the tree.
Trees too, yeah.
But there's a saying in permaculture circles that goes, you don't have too many pests, you have not enough predators. And that's what it comes down to. Chickens are a predator to insects and pests. So if you have chickens, and ducks are the same. I can remember seeing on that video, the biggest little farm.
Ducks will eat snails.
Yeah, they had an orchard problem with snails getting into the orchard, and they moved ducks in there. And the ducks, they weren't even feeding the ducks. The ducks
decimated everything.
They decimated these snails.
Yeah,
and
they love snails,
which is weird. And that's what you have to think about. It's not just having chickens in the backyard because you want to get eggs out of them. It's all the added bonuses that you get. So you've got your compost, you've got your pest control, you've got your eggs, 3 big wins. But then there's a couple of other wins too. And one of them, I thought it might be the case because I know growing up with animals as a kid on my parents' farm, I certainly found a real niche and a real bond for myself with the animals and looking after them. But caring for chickens, if you've got children, can be a great way for kids to understand about responsibilities with animals. A dog or a cat, don't get me wrong, kids love them too. Dogs, I think, are probably more high maintenance than a chicken.
I reckon they are.
Yeah. So a chicken, for our kids, for MJ and OJ, when we got the first chickens out at Gunning, they looked after them like they were... I can remember them going in when they were just hatched out because we hatched our first lot.
Yep.
And they would go in every morning and check them and then come home straight from school and go in and check them and hold them and call them by name and cuddle them. And so these chickens, to this day, we still have Agnes left out of that batch.
She's the only one.
And Agnes she hates being picked up, but when the handy helper picks her up, she she stays nice and calm. And
Yeah, she comes into you.
yeah. And I don't think she's ever been a really pick-up kind of
Agnes is Goat Chicken's mum.
chicken's mum. Yep.
So we've had Goat Chicken forever. So Agnes is still kicking. She's the matriarch of the yard.
Every now and then she still drops an egg.
Yes, she does. Yeah, very random, but she does.
But I mean, at the end of the day,
she's allowed to.
At the end of the day, having chickens is, and we say it all the time, it's a gateway drug to homesteading.
Yep.
And we mean that in the funniest of ways, not in a nasty way. But it's a really great starting point for people who want to move towards that more self-sufficient kind of lifestyle. And so we can't understand why everybody doesn't have them in their backyard. I've got a little comment here. Most of you know that I do print-on-demand T-shirts and things like that, and I've just started doing a new chicken range. So if you're thinking about T-shirts, go to www.notthefarmerswife.com. I've got a whole chicken range that I've just brought out, and I need to put this one on there as well.
Oh, I only just read that.
Yeah, the only pets that pay rent.
They're the only pets that pay the rent.
And literally they do for us, because we sell eggs as well. But even if you weren't selling them, even if you were just bartering them with a neighbour, they're still going to pay for themselves. It's going to mean that you're not paying
at the moment.
Food.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The price of eggs.
Yeah, God, well, if you can get them.
This
is the other thing. You can't get them. So having chickens in your backyard also means you don't have to worry about supply chain issues. Yay! Yeah. Now, the pushback from councils, neighbours, things like that. My first response to anybody that kind of carries on about it is fuck them.
Should I say too?
Which, it's not helpful when you're having a adult and mature and professional conversation with somebody to say, fuck them. But at the end of the day, what you do in your backyard should be your business. And so long as you do it within any kind of legislation in your area and you're not breaking the law, I can't see the problem with it.
Yep.
Now, the common suburban objections that you will get are the noise. Yep. Because chickens are so noisy.
No, they squawk louder than dogs.
Oh, just squawk all day.
Yeah.
Like, especially when they're bored and nobody's entertaining them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's
like dogs.
That's dogs.
You hardly hear them. The only time you'll ever hear a chook is when she's laying an egg.
Yes.
But mind you, if I was pushing that out, I'd be probably screaming too.
Some of the ones we get, they're huge. But they'll sing when they lay. Usually in the afternoon. It's not. They don't. Sometimes they lay
not in the morning, but usually mid-afternoon they'll lay. Yeah.
Now we've got to be honest. We don't hear ours because they're a little bit away from the house. But even when we lived in Gunning, the roosters were the only ones we could hear, and our roosters were locked in until sunrise.
Yep.
So therefore they crow when they see the sun coming up. If you have them locked into a dark chicken coop until sunrise, when you let them out, they will likely come out and crow.
Yep.
But if that's at 7 o'clock in the morning, honestly, what are these fuckers doing? Blinking all day.
Yeah.
I don't care about them. If they're still in bed at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, then they're getting a better night's sleep than I am.
They're really strict in suburban areas and stuff with roosters, which is annoying.
But understandable.
It's understandable.
If you think about it, if you had a rooster right next to your bedroom window that crowed, just say they weren't locked in, and crowed at 5 o'clock every morning.
Well, one of our idiots crows at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
There's no sun up. It's pitch black.
Can't even hear him.
I've got solar lights around the yard out in the paddock, so I know where they are. And one solar light that he can see, and he thinks the sun's coming up. 4 o'clock in the morning, he'll start.
But honestly, if you don't have roosters in a suburban backyard, I don't think your neighbours have got a leg to stand on that one.
No.
Goat chicken is probably our noisiest chook because she comes down, talks to the handy helper, she talks to the Merrimer, Luna. She has a conversation with her about...
Shares her biscuits.
Because she wants dog biscuits. So she can get a little bit noisy, but honestly, it's not anything worse than a dog barking in a backyard. And it certainly doesn't go on for anywhere near as long. No. It lasts for about 5 minutes tops. She has her bickies and then she racks off and goes somewhere else. And the only time you'll hear her again is when you walk out there with food in your hand. If you go out there with pellets in your hand, she is in your face, carrying on. The second common objection, is smell. Now, I have to be honest, if you can smell your coop, you're probably not cleaning it out often enough.
Issues.
Yeah. And so those issues don't relate to the chickens. They relate to the humans that are responsible for the chickens. The chickens themselves do not produce a smell. Their manure does, but if you're cleaning out the coop regularly, the manure won't build up. No. So it won't be an issue. And one of the other common objections, I did a bit of a scroll to see what common objections were, and one of them is property values. People think that if you have chickens, the property values will
Well,
decrease.
we talked about that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
If I was going to buy a house and I walked in, there was a chicken coop in the backyard, I'd be cheering.
Yeah, because you think, great, one less thing I've got to build.
One less thing I've got to build. Beauty.
So those are the common objections that people have, and honestly, they can all be negated. They're just not even, to me, it's like people are just clutching at straws.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are some neighbours who are just dumb. No nice way of putting it. I'm going to be blunt. They're idiots. So, how do you deal with an idiot? No, not how you deal with an idiot. Handy helper was just, his eyes were ticking over then like, what could I do? I mean, you try and educate them.
Hair and feather? No.
No,
No?
we stopped doing that like 50 years ago.
Gonna bring it
back. Some people that could do with it. To be a good chicken neighbour, the best thing you can do is open a line of communication and try and educate your neighbours. So if you're thinking about getting backyard chickens and you are worried about your neighbours, just make up a little card and drop it in their letterbox. Hey, I live at whatever. I'm thinking about getting chickens. I know that some neighbours would have objections to this. I'm happy to address any of those objections. If you just want to, drop down and see me, here's my number, send me a message. Realistically, I mean, God of the day, we never used to. We used to know all of our neighbours.
Yeah, it's different now.
And in suburbia now, you just don't know them. So you might have some weirdo living next door to you. So you may not want to give your number, but even just letting them know that if they've got an objection, to drop a note back into the letterbox, and you'll try and tee up a time with them to have a chat with them. But the main things that you need to address with them is that with regular coop cleaning, there's never going to be a smell. There's not going to be rodents. People get worried about rodents as well. There's not going to be rodents if you are keeping the food sealed in a container where things can't get into it. If you're not putting the food out in an area where wild birds can get it, which you shouldn't do because it's bad for biosecurity. So having the food somewhere where, it's just accessible by your chickens and there's no pests getting in, and you're cleaning your coop out on a regular basis, and then address with them what you're going to do with the excess buildup of chicken shit, because that's what most people would be worried about. And certainly if you're heading towards that homesteading kind of pathway, you should be building a compost heap in your backyard. Anything that's not going to scraps to the chickens would be going into the compost heap, because why throw it in the bin and take up more bin space? But open the lines of communication. That's the best thing.
The dirt in our compost pile is freaking awesome.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, the amount
of goat shit.
Chook poo, goat shit.
Yeah. We love, and I always laugh.
Other animals.
Yeah. If there anything that's not going to get buried, that's only a small animal, usually goes in the compost heap and gets buried in there to compost right down.
They break down pretty quick.
It's great for the soil. It's a real boost for the soil. But we laugh about it because sometimes I'll go out there and clean out the goat runs and pick up goat shit, and the goats will stand around and look at me like, why are you picking up our poo? Like, what's so special about our poo? You can see they're just really confused by it. Like, it's just not right.
It breaks down so well.
Yeah, and I say, this is gold. This is compost gold for me.
It's like horse shit. All it is grass.
Yeah, and cow shit. Yeah. Everything. All of the compost. Yeah, you put it all in the compost, and building soil that you can then put back into your garden, which is awesome. Now, what are some of the common chicken keeping myths that people have? It's too hard.
Too hard. I can't do it. Bullshit.
Oh, God. Takes
you 5 minutes a day.
If you have a dog or a cat or a budgie, or even for that matter, a fish, you're probably on par with having chickens. As far as daily feeding, watering, collecting eggs, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, tops. If that. Yeah.
We've got like 40, 50 chicks.
And 2 coops.
Yeah, and it still takes us probably, I would say, 10 minutes.
10 minutes tops by the time I get the feed and walk out in the paddock and do it all.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we do have a big waterer that we only fill up probably once every 4 or 5 days. But, you can do that too. You can have it automatic. You could have it connected to a hose so that your watering system is constant supply, and you only have to check to make sure it's still pumping water out.
Pretty easy to do in suburbia.
Oh, God, yeah. With water pressure, we don't have proper water pressure here, so it's always an issue for us. but it's definitely not too hard. Anybody that says
It's
it's
not
too
hard.
hard,
It's not hard.
yeah, what is it? Tell him he's dreaming.
Tell he's dreaming.
Too messy.
No. Not if you keep the maintenance up on it and you clean it out all the time and stuff like that. Even our sheds, every now and then I've got to get inside. Now I've just moved them at the moment, but before I move them next time, I'm actually going to get inside them with the big fire hose and hose them all right out just to clean them out.
And they're due for that.
They're due for it. Yeah, they are due.
Especially during winter's a good time to do it because any lice or mites or anything like that are dormant.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to wash it all out.
Yeah.
Come spring, what you want to do is disinfect.
Yep.
So wash out and disinfect coming into
There's
spring.
special spray that you can spray inside them to clean them right out, but I'll probably drag the pressure washer in there and give it a good hit.
And that usually cleans them out really good.
Yeah. So
too expensive.
No, they're not too expensive. Initial costs and stuff like that, it's bugger all really.
Now, and I did
for what your return is.
I did just work this out for my webinar that I did this morning. And if you didn't catch the webinar and you think, oh, I'd actually like to see that, I am going to probably do an encore performance of it because it went down really well. So I'll probably do another one. So if you are at all interested in doing that, go to www.mojohomestead.net/webinar June 2025. It should still work. Cool. I think it should still work. I might have to change the dates on it. It should still work. But send me a message. Send me a message if you're interested. I'll make sure you get the right link. But I did an entire spreadsheet on what it costs, and we worked out that pasture raised eggs at the bottom of at the lowest level, you're looking at $11 a dozen for the first year.
Yep.
And $5 a dozen for the second year because then all your main costs are paid off.
Yeah.
And at the higher end, so if you go the Taj Mahal Palace of
chicken
coops, which I keep asking the handy helper to build me one that's better and bigger, but yeah, he just no. If you go that end, the first year you're probably paying about $18 a dozen, which considering pasture raised eggs at the moment in the shop are $16.50 for a dozen.
Yeah.
$16.50. I sell them for $8.50, and I'm always sold out. I have a regular set core of customers, and they often say to me, if you have more, I'll buy more. And I never have more. I need to get more chickens. More laying chickens. Our Brahmas have just started laying. We're so happy.
Yeah, big girl.
But yeah, I sell them for $8.50, and when I worked it all out, what you would be paying, it was $18 a dozen if you're at the top end. So if you buy all the fancy brand new stuff, and that converted to $11 in the second year.
Yep.
So you're still in front in the second year, like, $5 a carton, still in front. Now, if you grow your own food or do things to extend their life of their food, like collecting scraps from other families, things like that, then you can reduce it down to about $4 a carton of eggs for pasture-raised eggs. So they're the same eggs that sell for between $14 and $16.50 in the shops. So they're definitely not too expensive.
No.
Well, pick your expense. Giving them money to Woolworths or Coles, or keeping the money for yourself.
You can get some pretty good and reasonably priced chicken coops at the moment. Yeah. And they don't have to be big. If you've got 3 chooks, they don't have to be big.
No, they don't. And
they don't have to be big.
Look at Marketplace, or if you're in the US, look at Craigslist.
Oh, you'll find them. You'll find secondhand ones.
Secondhand one, or even if they sell a secondhand one that looks a bit, maybe they might be giving it away. I mean, we got our greenhouse for free because we had to pack it up for the person.
Yeah.
So they may say, "Oh, there's a chicken coop in my backyard and I don't want it." You can have all the parts, but you've got to disassemble it.
Yeah, if you pull it apart.
Yeah. So for labour, you get the chicken coop. Now the last one is the funniest one that I've got on my list of.
It is funny, actually.
And we shouldn't laugh, because I always say there's no dumb questions. I try and encourage the kids. There's no dumb questions, because I think sometimes people are afraid to ask because they go, shit, is this a dumb question?
I'll ask you a dumb question. Why are my hens not laying eggs? Is it because I don't have a rooster?
And we shouldn't laugh, but
a question does get asked all the time.
It gets asked all the time.
Yeah.
You don't need a rooster for your hens
to lay eggs.
So as gross as it sounds, my nasty little term that I use, which
yeah.
I love fucking with people's head. Hen eggs are chicken periods.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
One every day. They basically their body, depending on the breed, anywhere between 24 hours or 23 hours for your Isa Browns, anywhere between 23 hours and 30 something hours. A hen will drop an egg internally. So the process starts, and it's just like a mammal's period. Chickens aren't mammals, but it's like a mammal's period where it goes through the process of going through the fallopian tubes and coming out. For them, it's an oviduct, and it comes out as an egg. And during that process of moving through the hen's body is how it forms into the egg that we get at the other end. So I jokingly refer to them as chicken period. And I know that grosses some people out, but call it what it is. So you don't need a rooster for that process to happen for a hen. That process happens for the hen from the time they reach maturity until they have used up all of their eggs. So like I say, Agnes, who's 9 years old, 9.
Yeah, she's 9.
9 years old, and she still lays an egg occasionally. Now, for her, the process has slowed right down, and that's completely normal with an old chicken.
One a month, I reckon.
Yeah, probably one a month. And that would be completely normal for an Arakan. So she's an Easter egger. She lays blue eggs.
She's an olive egger, beg your pardon.
Yeah, well, over the years, her toner has run out.
The toner's run out. It's not blue anymore. It's sort of like olive green.
Olive green. But that process still goes through, the egg still goes through that process of coming out the other end. But it takes 28 days instead of 28 hours.
Yeah.
So that is always going to happen once the hen reaches maturity, and until they are past maturity, like they go into essentially menopause, when they run out of eggs. So when they run out of the ovums inside their body, they will stop producing eggs.
Yep.
And they'll slow down in the years in between. So in their first year, they always lay at that peak rate of every 26 hours. For some Isa Browns, it's every 23 hours. I've heard people getting 8 eggs in a week off one bird. So it can happen where it kind of cycles to the point where you are getting, a condensed number of eggs in a set period of days. But for most egg-laying birds, it'll be about 28 hours, and then it'll stretch out as they get older. The next year it might be every 30 hours. It might be every 32 hours, that kind of thing. So you don't need a rooster. What do you need a rooster for?
If you want to hatch out your own babies, because the rooster is the only thing that can make them fertile.
Yep.
That's all they're good for.
And do you want to know some really interesting facts about chicken sperm?
Oh, God.
Because I'm...
Do tell.
I was learning about beekeeping. Did you know that a bee, a drone, so a male bee, for those who don't know bees, a drone mates with the queen in midair. It's the only time the queen will leave the nest is to mate with the drone. And they mate in midair, so they get their jiggy on in midair. And then straight after he's finished and he's ejaculated his sperm into the queen in order for her to then go on to produce thousands of baby bees, literally. She will, out of one mating, she will produce thousands of bees. His penis explodes.
Yep.
Isn't that fascinating? I think that's amazing.
I'm glad it's only bees that it happens to.
Anyway, so interesting facts about chicken breeding. Here you go. A hen can, so say you've got 2 roosters in the yard and you've got a hen, and both of those roosters, because it's not a love-making situation with chickens, it is very much an unlove-making.
Bit savage, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's their nature.
Yeah.
So the hen will get pinned down by the rooster. He mounts her and he ejaculates sperm into her vent, which is where the eggs come out. And that goes into her oviduct, which is the tube that goes into the ovum, which is the egg. So when he does that, and there's another rooster in the yard, and the other rooster does it as well, because usually the poor girl gets hammered by both at the same time, or pretty close. It's like the rooster goes, well, where you got to pin down? Here, I'll have my go. So when he does that, the hen can actually reject sperm from one of those roosters.
Yeah.
So she can say, that rooster that had the go first, He is by far the most dominant species. He's got the best genetics.
Mm.
If I want a fertilized egg, I want it to come from him, and it will eject the sperm from the other rooster.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm.
Nature is fascinating. I love it.
That's like Brahmas with their set where they only produce hens, not roosters.
So a Brahma rooster can throw only
Hens.
because they're what's called a pullet thrower, where they just when their sperm is just geared towards throwing females.
Throws hens. Yeah, it does.
So they'll always throw females. But the other fascinating bit about hens in general, like any breed, is that if you've had a rooster in with your hens any time in about the last 28 to 30 days, they can still have fertilized eggs. So they can hold the sperm in their body to fertilize all the eggs over the next 30 days.
Yep. Yeah, they're smart.
What's that?
They're smart.
I think it's awesome. Anyway, that's my little fun fact for today, because everybody wants to know about chicken sex and reproduction.
Fantastic.
So how do you know if you're ready for chickens?
Oh, we talked about this before. It's a given. It's a given.
Hang on, but you had a way of testing it.
Yeah, yeah. If I walk up and I put a baby chick in your hand and you go, "Oh," you're ready for chickens.
So that means every kid on the planet is ready for chickens.
Yep. As soon as you hold it and you go, "Oh, you're so cute." Guess what? Your next 20 years of your life, you're going to have chickens.
It's that thing. We saw something the other week. There was a video and I sent it to the handy helper. It was, when you meet a girl and she's not high maintenance with shoes and handbags. The guy says, "Right, you should really check what her other hobbies are."
Yeah.
And then you see him building a chicken run, cleaning out horse stables, carrying baby goats around, feeding cows,
talking to ducks. Yes. Yeah.
So there are other hobbies that are more expensive than shoes or handbags. But how do you know if you're ready? Probably the big one would be that you want food in your house for your family that is healthy, homegrown, free of preservatives, free of any artificial kind of additives. That would be a good indicator that you're probably ready to start looking at homesteading stuff. A willingness to care for and look after animals is another one. There's no point having chickens. Chickens are a commitment. And we went away just recently for 3 days and left the chickens and the dogs and the goats and came back and nobody did you know.
Nearly had a moment then.
We came back after 3 days and had no real issues. I think we'd lost 2 chickens.
No, we lost one. We lost one.
But that was because...
Oh, 2. No, sorry.
We lost 2, yeah. But that was because we had Luna in several... She was overseeing a lot more space than what she normally does.
She does.
And we've talked about the fact that we're probably at a point where we need to get a second Marama because we've just got too big a space to keep foxes out. And we do have a huge fox problem here where we live in New South Wales. But we didn't have any other problems, any other dramas.
No, they were good. They actually still had feed.
Still had water.
They still had
Everything
water.
Was happy, healthy, feet direction.
And there was a shitload of eggs in the nesting boxes.
Because we hadn't collected for 3 days. But, you can go away. You don't, just because you've got chickens doesn't mean you can't go away. No, you can also get somebody to come in and look after the chickens too, if you're going away for an extended period. But still having that willingness to have animals on a regular basis and have a routine where you're looking after animals is pretty important.
Yep.
And if you're interested in sustainable living, then having chickens is kind of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, they're good. They're very simple. They're really easy to take care of.
And I made a little list here of people that do well with backyard birds. And on the top of it, it says handy helper because he does well with backyard birds. He loves his birds.
I love my chickens.
Yeah, and I think if you're an animal person, certainly, I know it sounds weird, but chickens can be a bit like dogs. When you're watching a video of somebody training them to come to a bell.
Yeah, just before. They train their chickens, so their chickens are allowed out of the coop during the day to roam around in a paddock to do what they want. And then she walks inside and there's a bell in the top of the coop. And she dings the bell and they all come running and run back into the coop for her.
And so she probably feeds them something like scratch mix.
Yeah, she does.
Reward for coming back. Yeah. Chicken candy.
Chicken candy. Scratch mix.
So that's I say to people, don't feed scratch mix because scratch mix is crap. It's chicken candy. It really is. It's like giving your kids.
They won't lay eggs off them.
Yeah, you've got to give them layer pellets.
Got to have something with a bit of protein in it.
But that would be a good time to feed them scratch mix.
Yeah.
If they come to the bell, they get scratch mix because they like scratch mix because it's chicken candy. they're probably more inclined to learn.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that just goes to show you they can be trained.
It can be trained.
Yeah. So, but also to families, so obviously people who are interested in animals and having animals, but also families who are looking to give their kids that experience of really understanding where your food's coming from. I think that's probably a really big plus.
How many times have young kids had the farmyard friends come to school and now all of them fight over the baby chickens? I want to hold the chicken. I want to hold the chicken.
We used to take the goats in for our kids when they were at primary school. We used to take the goats in.
We used to take the baby goats into the school, let the kids play with them and pat them and that.
We actually had a really interesting experience with a child who was on the spectrum. So he was a non-verbal or very low verbal.
Very low verbal, yeah.
And we put a baby goat on his lap and he started talking.
Yeah.
Which the teacher was super amazed. He was like, we never get anything out of him during the day at school. And he was talking to the goat.
Yeah.
Not to anybody else,
no.
But he was quite happy to sit there and chat to the goat.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that kind of works. And I know people that have been involved in pets as therapy or therapeutic animals, assistance animals, talk about how humans tend to have a bit better bond, like humans that may not have a bond with humans have a better bond with animals. So maybe it's something in that. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for us this week. We've got to go because we've got to go and take Master OJ off to the orthodontist to get his braces checked again. The joy of having children that need braces. I have paid for the dentist's new car, I think.
Yes.
Pretty much at this point I've paid for a new car. I do sometimes go in there and say, how's our Beamer going? But he just laughs and doesn't answer me. I'm not sure why. I don't think he's ever going to let me drive it. Anyway, for anybody that is thinking about chickens, I would urge you to go along to www.mojohomestead.net. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the page at the moment and you'll be able to find it, or have a look at my social media links. You'll see some links there too. Go and have a look. If you think that, because this is the beta program that I'm doing, if you think that you might be interested in doing it, because it is at a very, very reduced rate at the moment, and that is only in play until the 4th of July. 4th of July, I think, is a Friday. And so it's only in play till then, and then that price changes. But there is a deal. There is a deal. You get the discounted rate on one condition and one condition only. You have to be prepared to give me feedback at the end of the course. So it's an 8-week course. And at the end of that 8 weeks, I need you to give me feedback about how the course went for you. What was missing from it, anything you needed, anything that went well. I need that feedback because I'm trying to improve what I put out to the community as far as how to learn about chickens. And the only way for me to do that is to get the feedback. So don't sign up for the course if you're not going to complete it and you don't want to give me feedback. That's really not who it's designed for. It's designed for people who have got a real willingness to finish the course and to give me feedback at the end of it. Anyway, I think that's it, Handy Helper. I had nothing else there.
Go and have a look at the course.
Yes.
Seriously, go and have a look at the course.
You'll
be surprised at how simple things are, and there is a world of information on there.
It's pretty thorough.
It's pretty good. You've done a good, awesome job of it.
There's a lot of bonuses in there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But otherwise, we will talk to you all. Well, Handy Helper may not talk to you next week.
I may not.
Work. Oh no, you might be able to help me record next week.
Yeah.
But otherwise, have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you all next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Ditch the Store. If you're loving the journey to self-sufficiency, be sure to subscribe. You can also leave a review for us or share this episode with a friend who's ready to break up with their supermarket. If you've got questions or success stories, we'd love to hear about them on the socials. You can also find me at www.mojohomestead.net. Until next time, keep raising, growing and making. And remember, life's too short for store-bought eggs.